Welcome everyone to episode 26 of Kisscast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Steve Clausen.
And I'm the other guy.
All right, and was last episode not fun or what? It was blast.
It was fun once we finally got it.
Yeah, you guys don't understand how painful that is to get done because we had to do it on the Facebook Messenger instead of Skype like we usually do, and the Facebook Messenger sucked. It kept freezing up and yada yada. Anyway, but hey, it turned out pretty good. Want to thank Jason again for coming on. And, you know, he's like, welcome back. We'll have him back at some point. And definitely want to thank everyone that's viewed the video and put us 100 subs on YouTube and making the Facebook page and spread the word. So we're definitely a step in the right direction like we were hoping to do. So definitely appreciate all that support. So this week we're going to discuss the evolution of the KISS logo, as well as like the different stage setups, and go through those. And I'm sure we'll end up trailing off too, talking about random shit like we usually do, but that's what this is all about. So, so what's been going on? Anything new in the KISS world right now? Or
you're on tour still?
On tour.
KISS world.
Night off as we're filming this, but tomorrow night is Stockholm, Sweden, I believe. And been hearing things about the tour. You know, Tommy just debuted a new guitar. Paul had a guitar with the Czech flag on it, or whatever that is.
It was on the Russian show.
Russian, yeah.
So.
That was cool. I'm assuming he's gonna do that for all the countries, and that's something different.
I don't know if it was lighting or not, but one Moscow show that hosted the full show, when he is playing the cracked mirror guitar, I think he has a silver, the regular one, and I think he has a purple one. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice that. I don't know. It may have just been the lighting, but
I kept looking at it, thinking it was the lighting, and it stayed purple the whole time. So I have to go back and watch it again just to see, because that's a brand new guitar, right?
Yeah, it would have to be if it is a purple one. I had never seen before. So, but yeah, the set list is pretty nice. You know,
crazy nights.
crazy nights. They even brought back Say Yeah. Back to opening with Deuce, and Psycho Circus is still low in the list. And
well, I noticed on that show, Paul flew out over the crowd for Psycho Circus. I don't think he's ever done that for that song.
Did he? See, I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah, it was for Psycho Circus. It's like, that's really odd.
Yeah, that is, and because they were still doing Love Gun, right?
They did Love Gun. It was the second song, I think.
Yeah, see, that's kind of weird.
Second or third song. So yeah, that's odd. And then Gene flew to he did his Blood and Flying. And they did War Machine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't think they've ever done War Machine with him up on the scaffolding like that either.
No, I don't think they have. It's usually God of Thunder, or I Love It Loud, or
yes, that was different too.
Or Stanley the Parrot.
That's the most fun.
But I don't know, man. From watching the video, I swear to God, Eric Singer, man, he is playing the way that he used to play. That we've been wondering where that's at. Like, I don't know if I'm just thinking that, but I swear when I'm watching him on them videos, especially playing Deuce, I feel like he's pulling out more of the tricks and doing that little extra stuff that he used to do, and it's like really kind of giving me a new boost of energy. Like fuck yeah, that's finally like Eric's playing like the real Eric again. Did you notice that too, or am I just seeing things?
Well, see, since I'm not a professional drummer, I mean, I played drums in the past, but never. I wouldn't consider myself a drummer. I don't really notice a lot of that.
The skin.
Probably, yeah, but
not that type of stuff.
But I really haven't. The thing that I was noticing, like on the Moscow show, is, and of course, this is someone filming it, the crowd. Yeah. You don't get to see Eric unless he's on the big screen a lot of times.
True.
So I couldn't really to see him like I would sort of want to, especially after meeting him at the KISS Expo. You sort of have that affinity for who you just met. It's like I felt like that with Tommy. I still felt like Tommy. I feel like, and I hope he hates me for saying this, but I feel like Tommy is the star of the show. I just feel like that he is, and I felt like this before. It's not just the recent footage I've seen. I feel like that because Paul and G are so proud of their current lineup, that they put Tommy up front because they'll say his name constantly. Right before he gets solo in the song. They'll say Tommy Thayer, does that all the time. It's like, That's just my impression. But anyway, back to Eric.
So, Tommy, if you see this, Brandon wants to marry you. So please get
No,
in contact.
I'm not marrying. I'm not marrying. Maybe a long courtship.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, if you go back, there's the video clip from when they did 2 Nevada shows recently. I'm pretty sure it was Kiss FAQ, I believe, was the channel I saw that video. It was the video of Deuce, and it was fairly, pretty close, like off to the side, and you could see Eric perfectly in that video, and watch Deuce's performance from maybe a couple of years ago and compare it. But I swear it seems like he's back to pulling more of that stuff out. And I know it seems kind of weird, with the expo just happening, but a lot of that stuff brought up at the expo, it almost makes you wonder if it really did get to him that much that he thought to himself, like, you know what, I need to pull that out again, like whether they like it or not. And it could just be like a weird, because I'm having that high from the expo and like thinking that little thing affected his playing. I could just be crazy for thinking that way, but it just kind of feels like that's sort of what happened.
Well, sometimes I've noticed, and I've said this before with record collecting. Someone will show a record, or they'll get a record, and then I've never seen it before in my life,
Right?
And then I find
right.
So it's similar, and I think that a lot of it's going like that. It's sort of unexplained, the reasoning. But
yeah, it's just kind of a weird coincidence. Like, I don't know, but I'm happy. I'm like, hell yeah, that's, to me, it's like Eric's playing like Eric Singer again, but toned down.
Oh, he agreed that the drums, he didn't like the drums on, what was it, Live 3 in Vegas. He said he didn't like them.
And Monster.
But he liked Unplugged.
Right. And
it's sort of different.
But he agreed with the mix of them and the mastering of them, the way they sound. He agreed. And, even live, I feel like they kind of have that same kind of a buried down. The kick doesn't have that punch to it anymore, but he is starting to play that way again, so he'll be able to start bringing that out of the drums. I don't know, just kind of I really noticed and was happy with. Like I say, go check that video clip from the Nevada show of Deuce, and you'll really see him good on that. And it's on the Kiss FAQ channel, but check it out. It was really cool.
Something I'd like to just based on a Kiss show. Yeah, you would probably like to see if they would release from this tour.
Oh yeah.
Every filmed anyway.
I'd love to have a DVD much more than another live album, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, DVD or Blu-ray.
Both.
Yeah. Make it some sort of special deluxe edition, too, that you can get that, something cool that comes with it.
Well, Vegas, they did Vegas nice as far as the packaging.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
I think they should do that on every tour. I think they should have been doing that on every tour. Now it's sort of like, probably going to be like 10 more tours.
Right.
But, they could do that on their current Kiss World. I buy that for sure.
Now, one little thing I was kind of sort of disappointed with the Vegas thing was there should have been a vinyl version that came with the Blu-ray as well. Just like there is with the CD. And you had your choice, DVD or Blu-ray. They should have done the same thing with the vinyl, but it is what it is. I watched most of the DVD, and like I said before, I enjoy acoustic stuff on there a lot more than, well, I don't want to say a lot more than the show, but I kind of enjoyed watching that because it was something I had never seen versus the actual, since we had seen it in the theater and all that stuff. But
I just think that if I had the biggest TV, boy, it would look better.
But no matter the sound system you have, it still wouldn't sound any better because of the way
it's going to be the same, more or less.
Yeah, give us the max and let us make a fan mix of it.
So I see that Tommy was showing a new guitar that he just came out with.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned that. One of those Explorers.
I think it's it's a white one, or is it silver?
Silver, kind of similar to what Paul played back on the Destroyer, that type of guitar.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, Ace had that type of guitar for a short period of time, like right around the Elder Creatures era. There's pictures of him.
Yeah, I think it's the Elder, I want to say.
And it was the same sunburst pattern like his Les Paul. So I guess it's kind of fitting that Tommy now has that same type of guitar, but his own color. Yeah, there it is. Signature Epiphone.
Coming this fall, it says, so you can order that for me.
And all the people that bought his other guitar to get it signed, now they'll be buying that guitar to get it signed.
Well, that's did they make one of the fans, the public, the glittery one that he has? I guess it's Les Paul. It's like a silver glitter one.
I don't think it's the glittery one. It's just the regular, like, white one that everybody had to get.
Because I'd like to have the glitter one.
I bet you would. I'd like to have the light up Les Paul that Ace had.
Well, yeah, it's probably underneath his bathroom sink or something.
But see, guitar players, it's easy, but then drummers, it's like what? The only thing they could put out is like a snare drum, and then maybe like sticks, but that's about it. And it's kind of like, it's a little anticlimactic when it comes to drummers as far as signature things that you can put out. But you got an itch there?
Yeah, I have an itch for what's it called? 7-year itch. That's it.
7-up itch. So let's see. We talked about the Euro thing, the guitar. I don't think there was anything else going on really since they're on tour. Nothing too notable. Let me yell at the kids. Hang on. She tried to suffocate her sister.
Awesome. You should do like my mom used to do to me. Lock them outside. My mom used to do that to me. She'd lock me outside until it was late in the evening.
So let's see. We talked about the Euro thing, the guitar. I don't think there was anything else going on really since they're on tour. Nothing too notable. Oh, I did notice. I was watching a clip from one of the recent shows too, and there was another moment where Gene got pissed off at the light guy again, and I think it was during I Love It Loud or War Machine, and he did the whole, you could see him like, hey, and he's singing, and he's like, spotlight on me, asshole.
Oh, really? Which show was that?
It had to be like the first night or something like that. It was one of them.
On that Moscow show, where Tommy and Paul go up on the riser for in the middle of Lick It Up.
Yeah.
And they do the Who section. Yeah. And then, after they play the guitar for a while, then Paul usually goes, yeah, and then it comes back down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were getting to almost to that part, and Paul looked over at the side of the stage, and he goes, there was no microphone. Now, if you watch that show, whoever filmed it must have been a Gene fan, or they were at least at that side of the stage. So they have Gene on there when other stuff's going on. They'll be filming Gene.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks to me, I want you to see what you think, but it looks to me like Gene is watching Paul, like between songs, see how much he's going to scream and carry on. And it's almost like he looks disgusted the whole time. This is just in my head. I think that Gene told the guy not to put the microphone up there because, that's one of the biggest yells that he does in concert when he does that. Well, and he wasn't able to do it. There was no microphone.
If Gene did do that, then I guarantee Paul jumped all over his ass at the end of that.
If he found out about it,
Now, how did they pull that off? Did they just do it without the yell, or did Eric or Gene?
They just did it without the yell. There was no yell.
So I figured maybe Eric or Gene would step in and cover.
No, they didn't.
Wow. I see that now. I didn't.
It's a good show. It's very interesting because Gene is on there like almost the whole, like breathing fire, and he breathes fire, and even when the lights are out and Paul's doing the stuff with the crowd, you still see Gene there. It's like one of the most interesting shows in a while.
It's like funny you said, because like it seemed like Gene has been watching Eric a lot too. Like you keep seeing him kind of turn and look, and especially that show where Eric got really pissed off at the acoustic set. And it was like that show, he kept kind of looking like he was checking, So, I don't know. It's like, is cracks starting to happen again? Or things aren't going that smooth?
Well, I think with Gene and Paul, I think, I think Paul has actually said that they have a love-hate relationship. I know he was kidding to a certain extent, but I do think that's true because, I mean, it's been documented. As far as, I bet they get on each other's nerves all the time. And when you're on tour, they have to separate themselves as much as possible. Now, Gene, from what Eric said, goes into his hotel room and stays in there, and then Paul doesn't like the noise and carrying on, so Eric's in the Gene or the car with Gene. So otherwise, I don't think they'd want to kill each other.
Oh, I mean, when you've been working with that person for over 4 years, and there's been plenty of times they bickered, and there's video proof of that to an extent too. It wasn't always sunshine and rainbows like everybody thought it was for the longest time.
The thing that the reason I was thinking that Gene, and I'm this is the case, as far as that boot acoustic show when Paul was trying, and Gene says, "You're going to ruin yours." He's just carrying on, and Plant cannot even sing like Robert Plant anymore. So Paul Stanley can't do it either. And Gene said something right there. He was on the mic when he said that. So that they're and I will say that on that Moscow show, I don't know about every show on this tour so far, but they open Deuce, so that's a Gene song. A lot of the songs, I think Gene sings a lot more, and then Eric sings one, Tommy sings one. There's a lot more. Tommy does the solo there at the end, and even when they're doing "Say Yeah," Paul doesn't do that either. How in the middle of that song he'll go "Say Yeah" and he screams "Yeah." He doesn't do that either. So he is aware of it. He's trying, but I think his adrenaline's the best of it.
Right.
And I think he forgets and thinks, "Oh, I'm 20 years old, and I'm excited." And he probably consciously isn't trying to conserve his voice.
Right.
Sometimes. And I'm sure it's not easy.
And at this point of the career and everything, and doing these full-scale tours still, they probably realize they need to shape the set list to kind of help his voice rest a little bit, and not so many songs back to back, whatever the case may be. But let alone doing those acoustic shows, you would have to think that if they were up, they probably wouldn't do that anymore, because you're just putting that strain on his voice before they go out and play the actual show.
Right.
And I know he's not screaming and singing as hard as he does on stage, but still, you're singing, you're putting that strain in your voice, and whatever else could happen, And then Eric's getting pissed off in the one show, so then you're going playing, you're in a bad mood playing the actual show and all that stuff. And
you just wonder, I sort of would like to see how I don't mean this tour specifically. I'd sort of like to see how Kiss ends up, if you could see the future.
Right.
But then I also sort of don't want to know.
Yeah, like we kind of hit that, and it's like, I am kind of like almost excited to find out what exactly is going to happen when it is all finally over. But again, I'm in no hurry. I said I feel like I need to see them at least 3 more before I feel safe or comfortable saying, okay, this is it. This is the time I'll ever see them. You know what I mean? But I see what you mean. It's like, and I'm gonna have to watch some video clips now, because it just sounds like little tiny pieces of the foundation are starting to crumble a little bit. And
very possible. I mean, we don't know. And of course, being a fly on the wall is the only way we would know. We obviously don't have all access.
Yeah.
So.
Very true, but more will be told. Maybe by the time the cruise happens, maybe some more stuff will fall apart then. Or, I mean, again, I'm not sitting here trying to sound like a drama. I hope everything goes horrible, because that's not the case. I love the band, but it's kind of interesting. It's been happening a little bit lately, and it just come off as much of a tight unit as it did at first. And they're not all sharing the same hotel room and all that stuff.
Well, the thing with me is, I've put myself in that situation. One, I didn't want to be to that level of a touring band, because I know how I am and how I like my privacy, and how I'm not a people person, and to a certain extent, you know what I mean? So I can picture myself in that situation. After a while, it's like, whether you're getting along with someone or not, it's like, you just want to do something else.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, with Paul and Gene, I know that their work ethic is like way up here. So I think they're going to do it until nobody can do it anymore. Literally,
I agree.
because they both have families, and I can see they're laying money away for their family, and they're doing it for their family. Paul especially. I mean, not that Gene isn't, but I just feel like that's why they keep doing it. They enjoy doing it to a certain extent, or they wouldn't, because it's a lot of work, with all the stuff they do.
Oh yeah.
I think that they realize the time's running out, so they're doing as much as they possibly can touring wise, because I think that's where they make all their money nowadays.
Definitely, and their grandkids and kids are probably set up at this point. It's they don't, like you said, they don't have to do it anymore, but like to do it because they are dedicated to the fans, and they're trying to enjoy it for however longer it's going to go. Because at this point, it's almost one of those hourglass things. Like, you don't know how much time is going to be left now, and the sands are ticking.
And it's hard to imagine, because I think about back in the 70s, in my room listening to Kiss, and then here we are 40 plus years later, still the band still exists. They still tour. They still, it's just hard to wrap your head around that, because a lot of bands are completely gone and been gone for years and years. So I don't know how, maybe their work ethic is what's kept them together all these years.
And I think I mentioned this last week, but back when the farewell tour happened, had that really been it, like, I would, I'm curious to find out where we would all be now, knowing that's been what 15 years ago now.
It's at 03 when when it was completely over. I mean, Eric Singer was already still doing them. He was doing shows, and then
probably like 13, 14 years, let's say. I mean, could you imagine at this point to be sitting here and, wow, Kiss has not been around for 15 years? Like, to me, that's crazy. But I know at some point it is going to happen. But to know, like, if we're here today and that was the case, like, I just wonder, how different our the fandom of Kiss might be, or our personal dedication. There going to be that lifelong dedication, but like how.
I wonder if Kiss expos and all that would still be going on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Or maybe they would, and Paul and Gene and those guys be more, accessible to get to those things more often, since the band wouldn't be going. But it's one of them things. Like, it just it's kind of a crazy thought now, because I still the farewell tour like it was yesterday. I went to one of the shows. To think it's been that long now, I'm like, wow, like, what if that really was it? And just all the stuff that's happened since then. Even like, we wouldn't have had the symphony and the 2 new albums, all stuff. A lot of that's crazy.
Crazy night.
Let's get into
get into it.
Let's get physical.
Get in.
Let's get physical and get into what we originally wanted to talk about.
Here, put on your hand sanitizer.
Wait, where's my hands at? There they are.
Okay.
Get it in there.
Did you get it?
There, we're ready.
All right. So, I guess in 73, they didn't have a logo. They had a spider web behind the drums.
True.
So what did they have that for the first tour, I'm guessing? Like, it wasn't like a full-blown tour because it was 73, but
from what I understand, especially reading Peter's book, it sounded like they came up with that logo pretty much right when they got signed. There's still that.
Wasn't using it on stage though until.
There's still kind of that, argument to this day. I'm convinced, Ace is the one that designed it, but then, Paul's always saying that he kind of, refined it or whatever. And, it's kind of like, who cares at the same time, it's, but it is what it is. And, we're going to talk about kind of the different, I guess, designs of it and appearances of it, how it showed up through all the years.
Well, the first footage that I remember seeing that was really different, as far as the earliest footage of the actual Kiss logo after the spider web, because I just seen pictures of that. I've never seen actual video of that. was the Hotter Than Hell commercial has the Kiss logo sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
That's the stage, because I guess some places you couldn't hang it or they wouldn't allow you to hang it. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, because they were
So I
still
know
playing a lot of smaller places at that time.
there were several places I'm assuming had to do that.
Mm-hmm. But that was, to me, that's always kind of been the definitive Kiss logo, the one that was made out of all those individuals. And
Like the first album.
Right. Like, to me, there's just something about the way that logo's on that album.
On Kissology, it's like little diamonds.
Yeah.
Assuming, well, I think it's like that on this album. On the back, there's like a row of diamonds. The actual logo that too. Yeah, there it is.
I mean, there's something about the way that look. It just always gets me all these years. It just gives off some sort of like powerful feeling. Or something. Hang on a second.
All right.
All right. But anyway,
It gives off a magical power.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember when I was a kid, and every time I'd look at this, like, I still kind of get that same feeling every time I glance at that logo. It's just, I don't know. And I wish they would still use that.
Well, they used it on the Kiss Cruise when they did the live album, but it wasn't an act sign. It's what they've been using for a while.
I thought it was.
I don't think it was like a physical sign that you could reach up and touch. It was
right.
like
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's what they use now.
Right.
Even on Detroit Rock City, I know I'm jumping way ahead, but Detroit Rock City, maybe they ended up using the wrong sign. It was the one
that gives off a magical power.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember when I was a kid, and every time I'd look at this, like, I still kind of get that same feeling every time I glance at that logo. It's just, I don't know. And I wish they would still use that.
Well, they used it on the Kiss Cruise when they did the live album, but it wasn't an act sign. It's what they've been using for a while.
I thought it was.
I don't think it was like a physical sign that you could reach up and touch. It was
right.
like
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's what they use now.
Right.
Even on Detroit Rock City, I know I'm jumping way ahead, but Detroit Rock City, maybe they ended up using the wrong sign. It was the one from. It was the one from Crazy Nights, wasn't it?
They would do that.
Oh yeah. So Hotter Than Hell.
So they used the logo on stage from the first album. They used that all the way up through 75, right?
I believe so, because it does. Yeah, because it does appear on the cover of Alive.
And on the video footage we've seen, it's the same logo, more or less.
And once Destroyer hit, that's when they kind of went into
I think that I read somewhere that the first sign they had was a little...
and then once they hit the Destroyer area, then that's kind of when they started using the different, color designs on it and different shades and things like that.
Well, the Destroyer tour originally had those lightning bolts at the top.
Yeah.
Which was part of the actual logo, but it was it added to it, I guess, and that was dropped after a few shows, wasn't it? Or after the whole tour.
That Destroyer stage did not last that long. I mean, I know we'll kind of get that when we get to that part, unless we just kind of want to, combine them all together. But
yeah, as far as the backing up a little bit, with the stage on. And see, I'm just going by the footage that I've seen. I mean, I guess some of the pictures I've seen too. I haven't seen video footage of, like, Paul with the bandit makeup and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the time period, the stage was basically the same stage, from what I can understand, all the way up through probably the Alive. So the logo and the stage was similar because Gene had the candelabra behind him, but that wasn't added until what, 70? Was it 74 maybe?
Yeah, right about 74. And Peter was mentioning in his book, I read the other day that the way they used to start the show was the lights would be down, and then one of the roadies would come out and start lighting each candle on that candelabra one by one, and that's kind of how the show would start. And then they'd come out, just kind of start. It's kind of cool to hear that, because I've obviously never seen video footage of that type of show intro, or they mentioned, I'm kind of jumping off subject for a minute, but they mentioned Paul used to do a little gimmick on stage where he'd wear almost like a garter on his leg, and he'd walk to the stage, and
Yeah.
people would reach up and grab that off. And
I remember there's one of the concerts on Mythology. I think it's Love Gun, where he pulls it off his leg and he holds it up like that, and he throws it out in the crowd.
oh yeah, oh, real quick, like again, I'm jumping back to the current tour. I forgot to say this. Did you notice that Paul is wearing the tail again?
Yes,
That is that is awesome. That is awesome. That awesome detail.
yeah. I'm surprised, really, that he is.
Yeah, I am too.
Oh, and something else I was wanting to say about that Moscow show, since we're talking about the recent, if you watch Gene, if you watch Gene,
Mm-hmm.
it looks to me like he's gained a lot of weight.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too.
The camera angle is from the side, and you can see between his outfit there, to where there's not a bunch of stuff. And okay, if you go back to 1982, 83, the last shows they did in Brazil, he looks like he's gained weight a lot there.
Yeah.
From what I remember. And then you look at now, I'm sure that's not intentional. Is that a coincidence, or
I think he has put on more weight,
but do you think it's a conscious decision?
I don't think so. I think it's just the fact that he might not be working out as much as he did, because he is getting older now, and
Well, the only reason
he's always had a sweet tooth, so he's probably still sneaking that stuff in. And
the only reason I speculate being a conscious decision, which I don't think it is either, is because back when they did the I want to say it was Kiss Symphony, or right around there, maybe it was Rock the Nation, they were wearing the suits from Alive,
mm-hmm.
and Gene had lost a lot of weight to look like he did back then. If you watch the documentary that's on that DVD, he's wearing jeans, and he don't wear jeans. You know what I mean? And he's in that outfit. He's like really super thin compared to, maybe not like he was in '75, but as thin as he's been in recent years. So I'm sure that that's just a coincidence. It's probably not something he's set out to say, well, I don't care anymore. I'll just gain weight because that's what I looked like in '83. He probably doesn't even know. He probably doesn't even know that.
Oh, I agree. And there was that big thing, however many years back, where he did lose a lot of weight, because he was pretty chunky before that. And
around Psycho Circus, he was pretty heavy there.
And Shannon and everybody started kind of coming down on him, telling him he needed to cut back on the sweets and you need to work out and all that stuff. And back on the show, there was that one episode where he had that little scare with like something with his heart or something like that, and that was kind of a kick in the ass. So, but again, he's older now and he's had that sweet tooth. That's probably part of the reason. And by the way, I do not like his costume that he wears now, because it's so far from the Creature's outfit, even though it's supposed to be the Creature's outfit. And mainly it's that front shit that they added, and I'm sure they added that because he's gained more weight, so they added that to hide that. And I don't like how that looks. It reminds me of a little bit of Vinnie Vincent's outfit, the way that stuff looks. Like, seriously. Look at a picture of that, and then look at a picture of Vinny's outfit, and there's
I don't really like it either. And then, like I said in one of the other episodes where we were talking about the cruise,
mm-hmm.
he didn't have the wings in the cruise, and then they added the wings for the tour, which is fine. And I understand. Well, my opinion is that Gene feels more comfortable with those wings.
Yeah, he likes it for the effect,
Yeah, it's like the signature thing, and I understand that.
Especially when you're flying up to a thing, that's one of the best effects to have those wings.
And I also noticed on the Moscow show, and if you watch all the shows previous, when he, like the cruise on until the Moscow show, he's also got those black things on his fingers there on where he's playing like that. And he didn't have anything on his hand up to that point. So it's probably another thing that Gene says, I want that back, part of the outfit. And it wasn't originally, I don't think, in Creatures.
Yeah, I'd really like to know kind of the whole input that they do about their costume. And I know, it's like they never want to tell us that, because if someone asks them, it's like they might tell us a small bit, and then it's like they turn around and don't even answer the question. It's like, I want to hear the ins and outs, like
Mm-hmm.
how they sit down and say, okay, I want this and this, I want it to look like this, and blah blah blah. And
Yeah, I would to
maybe
know.
when we have David P on, we could find out more of that kind of stuff from him, since he did make Gene's outfit for the cruise last year.
Right.
So maybe we could find some of those kind of details. That's the kind of stuff I'd like to know too.
Yeah, that's what Kiss fans want to know.
Right.
Stuff that will. I mean, unless you to someone that's worked directly with Kiss, how else are you going to find out?
Right. So, and then, especially like at the expo, you don't really have time to ask that kind of question, because if you did, they don't have enough time to give the full answer, so you're going to get a half-assed answer. So, I know I'd like to know. I'm sure a lot of people would too. Anyway, we trailed off, but that's what we. So,
Destroyer.
Yeah, Destroyer. Okay.
Well, the stage on Destroyer, unfortunately, I don't think there's ever been an official release, DVD release, of the original stage before they dropped all the, stuff that was the tree, and Gene had the tree and Ace had the Frankenstein thing or whatever. And I don't know why that they wouldn't think about filming that they were going to drop it or not.
Very true. I know, like, there's some of those elements in the Anaheim show, but I don't think it's the full.
Like in the very front of the stage, they have those rocks. It looks like ice, sort of, or whatever. It reminds me of the Elder later on. Mm-hmm. But they have a couple of those, and there's just like a little bit here and there. It's like I just wish they had the full show the way it was originally put together.
I agree, but they probably realized how much of a production nightmare it was to try to set that up night after night. Yeah, I'm sure it was.
So the logo from that tour, I'm not cheating, but I probably should be. It's just I think it's just the outline of the letters and lights, right? And in the center of the letters, it's just the outline.
And that's when they started using sort of the longer letter, like the taller letters, kind of similar to Down the Road, like, with Crazy Nights, like that type of.
And this is probably irrelevant, but if I remember right, the lights they're not like LED lights would be now. They're more of a yellowish tint.
Yeah.
Which is just the way the lights looked at the time, I think, because they that lasted all the way up through Love Gun, I think.
And they did all the lights, did the chasing and little different patterns and stuff like that.
Yeah, like when the K would start blinking and each letter would blink, and then would do the rolling. Like there's Christmas lights that do that. It does the rolling of the letters. It's like when I see a Kiss concert that's from that era, that's just. That's the one that I associate with Kiss the most.
Right.
And, they replicate that pretty good on the past few tours when they've started using the big screen as opposed to an actual sign. But there's elements of what they do now. To me, it's like oh, they didn't ever done that. They're just making, they're expanding what they're doing, and they're changing the logo a lot.
I agree. And I would go back to using the actual logo and not just having it on the screen, because I feel like that's kind of lazy, and it's not. That's part of the Kiss show, is that actual sign hanging there.
If they are going to use it on the screen, I think they should just pick one and use one.
Yeah.
I don't think they should change it for every song, and because they're not changing costumes for every song.
Right.
To me, the Kiss logo is a member of Kiss to a certain extent.
Exactly.
And I don't know if we've discussed this in a previous podcast, but if you look at any band from Kiss forward, they have a logo behind them.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10. And Kiss is the one that started that, and their logo, I'm trying to think of a good example. Can you think of a good example? Well, the logo doesn't change. If it says band's name, that's all it says.
Pretty much like Metallica.
Some of them, I think they originally started with, a lot of them started with like backdrops. Because
you're talking about like an actual like light up sign, or?
Well, yeah, some of them, a lot of bands have the backdrop.
Oh, like pretty much.
Can't afford, they can't afford anything more than that, but
pretty much every band today, they have a backdrop because of that. And then there's even some bands that I've seen that do the whole curtain in front of the stage, at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Dropping the curtain, it's like, you know where they got it from, but
Well, I wanna say, and see, you might know the years on this better than I do, but there's the Zeppelin DVD that came out a few years ago.
Yeah,
I don't think that it's just called. Is it just called Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin, or
How the West Was Won or something like that.
what's like the? It's all video concert
Hmm.
footage.
Hmm.
I don't think this concert that I'm thinking of is on there, but I've seen pictures of it. It says Led Zeppelin behind them in letters, like the Kiss logo.
Yeah.
This was this in the 70s when Kiss was doing it, or was this before Kiss was doing it? Because I know Zeppelin did in '69. I know they didn't have a sign back then, but
I'd say it had to have been the point where Kiss was already around, because by then that's when Zeppelin had all that money, and
so do you think that Kiss influenced Zeppelin to do that?
I'm sure they probably did. That band, the show Midnight Special. You remember that? Like
Yeah,
every artist that was on there, they'd have their name, the
their
dim
name.
lights in the
Yeah.
back. And like I say, that even if it's not a lit up sign, the whole thing of having a banner behind you with your big logo, pretty much that same idea. And
Yeah, because Paul said in the beginning that, or Gene probably both says that stuff they do in Vegas. Don't do that. You're a rock band. What are you doing? That's craziness.
yeah, and even down to having the band logo on the front of your kick drum. Like, Kiss was one of the first bands I ever seen do that, other than the Beatles, obviously. But that's where they got the influences from, the Beatles. Kiss started doing it, and then like a lot more bands started doing it. And now Eric, he's got the light up Kiss logo on his kick drums, which adds to it. So that was doing the dancing and all the different effects here and there. But
And I don't think anyone's done that previous.
no, and that's cool and all. But okay, we want the real sign doing that too. We don't, not just an image on the screen. But again, we're nitpicking stuff, and
Well, I think, it's like you said, part of it is just, they want the sign because that's cute, and that's a good thing that they at least do that. But I think it's just easier, and it's probably cheaper because, well, skipping ahead a little bit, when was the last time they used a real life sign?
yeah, that's a good question. I know on Sonic Boom they did. It was like the front of the drum riser basically. Remember when the thing would come over, and then that the logo would slowly raise up and sit at the front of the drum riser.
Yeah, from Alive 35 up through Sonic Boom, they did that.
So I want to say Sonic Boom may have been the last time they used an actual sign, even though it was more on the ground, but still it was.
I think it was. It seems like that I'd seen footage after that. I don't know if it was a TV appearance or if it was an actual tour where they had, and I know they did this in Circus, where they had two Kiss logos.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would be at the bottom of the stage on each side, and sometimes they would actually be on the stage behind behind them. They did that for a bit, not consistently. They did it for a while, then they quit doing it, and they started doing it again, then they quit doing it.
And even having the Kiss Army banners hanging on the sides of the stage. They did that Destroyer, and then they kind of brought it back with, I think it was Psycho Circus and, the Farewell, and they're doing it now pretty much, and little things like that.
Well, I noticed that, where'd we leave off at? Probably, Love Gun, right around in there?
I think we were still having about Destroyer, but we can definitely move on.
Well, move on past, because just, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun was basically the same logo, more or less.
Yeah.
And the stage, when did they add the stairs? Was that Rock and Roll Over?
Yeah, it was right at the end of Rock and Roll Over, because they had already started using the Love Gun stage when it was still Rock and Roll Over tour.
Right.
And then carried it over.
They did that show in Japan, and they have the stairs on there.
Yeah. And then Gene started using that, what's the name of that demon thing that he used to use on the side of his...
I forgot the name of it.
We're not
he used to bring his sword out.
Yeah.
And he touched it, and it would have smoke come out of its mouth, and then that's sort of funny to think about because, and he would go over it from time to time and stick his tongue out and bite its tongue and stuff. It's like,
yeah, there's a real cool picture where he's like, kind of up under it, I can't think of the things, but it's things like that. The little like stage props that they used to use too.
And Peter had those black cats on each side of the stage, and I think was that right around Destroyer.
Yeah,
they were from Destroyer.
And now, they're doing Firehouse again in the set. So does Paul wear the fire hat, or?
I haven't seen footage of that, no.
Because I have a feeling he probably doesn't, and that's another element that was always cool.
Well, when was the last time they did that? On the reunion tour, I think.
It had to be. Cause I can't remember them doing Firehouse.
Because originally, like back in the 70s, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was a white hat at first, and then it eventually became a red hat.
Yeah, it did. Mm-hmm.
And I think later on Creatures, right around there, it was a white hat again. Or different ones from time to time.
I think he did to white for a period, and then he had red on the reunion tour. But I'm probably wrong, but it seems like they hadn't done Firehouse since the reunion tour until like now. I have to be wrong because that's been 20 damn years now.
It seems like they were doing it a little bit here and there.
They did it on Rock the Nation, didn't they? I would
think. Well, they did it on the Alive 35.
Okay, well, those were kind of the same in my opinion.
Yeah, but beyond that, not sure. I think they dropped it.
So it's probably been a good, I don't know, 8 years or so since they played it then.
That's one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time.
Oh yeah, I love it.
So I think the last time I remember seeing it, they did. I think it would be Fallon. They did it. They did Black Diamond, Firehouse. I think they did 4 or 5 songs. I think Deuce was one of them, but they did Firehouse on that one, and Hotter Than Hell did that one.
Oh, cool.
That's the last time they did it before this current thing.
I am glad they brought it back. That's definitely a staple. And hopefully Paul does wear the fire hat still. I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
They did that on Mike Douglas.
Yeah.
But he didn't wear the fire hat on there.
No, I don't think he was doing it at that point.
I think he was. That was 75.
No, that was 74 when they did that.
Was it?
Because that was when the album just came out, or it just came out, or was getting ready to come out.
Was that the second TV appearance? And they do that Dick Clark ABC concert, or was it the Midnight Special was first?
No,
I think ABC was first, wasn't it?
That Mike Douglas show I thought was first.
The only reason that I think I could tell if I seen the footage is Paul had straighter hair. He hadn't had the perm yet. Even though he has curly hair, he was brushing his hair out early on, and then he quit brushing it so much, and I think later he must have looked like he got a perm or something. If you have footage from Cobo Hall on Kiss All, any of those Cobo Hall shows, his hair out to here.
Yeah.
Brushing it out, and it's out there.
He had some froze there for a time period.
It's awesome. I think it's cool, but he probably doesn't think it's cool to look like.
I'm pretty sure Mike Douglas was the first appearance, and then in concert happened like right after that, like a couple weeks, I believe. So I'm trying to think because Peter was talking about it. So I want to say it was like 2 weeks after the Mike Douglas show.
So let's see, after Love Gun, and there wasn't a tour until what, Dynasty?
That's true. And then what did they use for Dynasty? I'm kind of drawing a blank. Was it
it was a similar logo. It was a little bit bigger, and it had those little silver stars beside it.
Oh,
and you could see those at times, but it had a flash. At times it flashed like there was, and then it had like this reflection that would go all over it. I don't know how they did that exactly. I don't know if it was lights itself that was doing that or if it was something shining on it. But it had a silver background behind the lights to where when a light hit it or whatever, it would sort of reflect. If you watch the Largo show, you can see that a lot.
That's what I was going to say. I thought it was silver, but then I think it did have the light bulbs, like just kind of like one strand, not the whole letter, to outline the letters. I think, because, that Largo, the video quality is not exactly the greatest, so it gets kind of hard to make out details like that. But.
Something else I wanted to mention before I forget is the disco ball. I think that was like in 74, 75, wasn't it? Because that San Francisco footage the black and white footage on Kissology. Is the disco ball on there? I don't remember seeing it, but it might just be because the camera angle is not far enough out.
Well, that and it's being black and white, it's hard to tell for me.
Didn't they have two for a while, and then they just went to one?
Yeah. And then, that's all. I mean, even to this day, that's still an awesome effect, for the beginning of Black Diamond. I mean, it just.
And let me ask you this, because I don't know the answer. I could probably Google it. What was a disco ball called before disco? They were using it before disco existed.
Mirror ball.
A mirror ball? You're right.
That's what they refer to them, so I'm assuming. But nobody, as far as I know, nobody ever heard of them until disco happened.
Well,
actually before disco, because Kiss was using them. So.
What was it originally designed for? Was it designed for Kiss? Where did it show up before that?
I would assume it's something they came up with for dances and stuff, and to give that kind of or skating rinks and whatnot. And,
maybe because I don't remember seeing Kiss. Kiss was the first time I ever remember seeing one of those.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. I was like, what the hell is that thing? But seeing it on
here.
You do have one. There. Turn the lights off and let's get the Black Diamond going.
I need a real huge one. That one. I need a real big one.
Reinforce the ceiling and hang it from there.
Size does matter.
Yeah, but seeing it on video is one thing, but when you see it in person with that effect of the mirror ball, it's just like it's you get goosebumps. And Paul's up on that platform, the purple light and everything. One of the best parts of the show, in my opinion.
I think the couple of pictures that we got that turned out from the last concert was that shot of Paul out there.
Yeah. I got a shot that I was pretty happy with. I wish it was a little bit, better, definition, but I was kind of happy with how it turned out. And,
is that the one with Gene that's up on the riser?
Well, that one I was kind of happy with too, but the one of Paul where he's on he's on the platform and you can see like the beam of the purple light on him and you can see the mirror ball up behind him. It's like I thought that was, if it was a little bit better definition, that thing would have been damn near perfect. But
now, you know how you can take your pictures and have them printed out? Would you be able to put that one out like for poster, or is that considered? That's not copyright. Copyright because you took.
Yeah, you can do that. I actually thought doing that with those two pictures. Like I just never got around to it, but it's something I'd almost have them blown up into either post size or even just like maybe even like an 8x10 or would be cool just to have something a little bigger than it is looking at it on the computer screen. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So as far as Dynasty stage, it was pretty modern at the time, and it was quite different from Kiss stages previous to that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when I'd watch that video, it always to me seemed like a big, like sort of an elaborate. But now, like when you see those photos that are out there of when the lights were still on and really all of that Kiss logo hanging and there was a behind it, and then that ramp thing and the thing that the drums set on, and it looks kind of basic, but when the lights are down and all that stuff going on, it gives off a different atmosphere.
Because the thing that was different, most notable that I remember is from the Love Gun to Dynasty was not just the 2-year break that they took off or whatever it was, albums, or between those two albums. But on the Love Gun, they had these things that they stood on and they came down.
Yeah, the cherry pickers.
Right, and then the Dynasty, they came up out of the stage.
Yeah.
And they stood there and they all had their individual colors. The lights on the colors.
That was cool. It kind of, actually coming after the solo albums and I like that effect. And, even jumping to the Analyze era when they all kind of rose up on that platform and were just kind of frozen and all of a sudden they were moving and Eric would run the drums. I always like that too. I wish they would bring back the ramp that they had for Dynasty stage. I think that would be cool to add to the setup that they have now.
I think what they did on Dynasty and Animalize, didn't they all have their arms up in the air?
Yes, that's right.
That's something that You know, it's funny. I noticed that, and I've said this before, but when Kiss something once, it's almost like they go back and they relive it. It's like, okay, well, we did this back on such and such. So let's do that again. That was cool. And I'll give you an example. When they were still doing the show with Peter before he left, and then for a while, Eric, they were still doing it. When they do the end of Black Diamond, they were doing it like the album. And then now what they currently do is they're doing like they did with Eric Carr.
Yes.
From Features, where they're playing the guitar part. It's like a totally different ending for the
Yeah.
song.
I've always loved that part.
They went back to that because they're aware that they used to do that. And I, like you said, I'd love to sit down and hear those conversations. Like, well, remember when we did this? Let's do that. You know?
Yeah, I always loved that ending to Black Diamond. And when I first heard it, when they started doing it again, I was like, hell yes! Like I was getting goosebumps. But I really think that ramp system from Dynasty would look cool with the current setup. You know, I could picture Paul and Tommy running around on it and stuff.
And it had those. It had like layers of light, not layers, but it had like the whole thing was lit up.
Yeah.
In like sections.
Mm-hmm.
To where they sort of blinked at times. You could see them on, like you said, the footage isn't really clear on that. It's more clear on the Unmasked show from Australia. You can see the stage really good there because I think it's basically the same stage.
Yeah, pretty much. And the one thing I didn't like about that stage was the drum riser, like the front of it, that whatever that texture. There's something about that I just never liked how it looked. It just ugly to my eye.
Like little lights in between those squares.
Yeah, they kind of have that, you know, they sunken in type texture to them. You know what I mean? And
it reminds me of like a Christmas decoration.
Right, and just every time I see that, it's always kind of like I don't know, like hurtful to the eye. Like I just never liked how that looked, and but maybe that's one reason I watch that show that much is because I want to see that. I
think it looks better, you know, towards it's probably Black Diamond at the end. The drum riser goes all the way to the top. It's more round off. When after that, it should have sort of looked like that when it was, you know, down with. Like if it looked like the ramp, if it was made like the ramp,
yeah,
it would look good. I think too.
I agree. You know, but as much as I love the tank, I think the favorite was always the cat. You know, when the rider would go up, big old cat design, and all that.
That current on the screen.
Yeah, true.
And I will say, and I don't know how computer stuff works when it kind of thing, but they actually look like the wind is blowing it.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
That does look really good, whoever designs that for them.
And I'll tell you another effect. They did it, I want to say it was the tour with Def Leppard, I know for sure. But I'm pretty sure they don't do it anymore. Is also at the end of Black Diamond, do the dun, dun, and then they all pause. And then it's kind of freeze, and that big old bright light shining behind them, so really all you silhouettes. That gave me goosebumps too. That was epic. And they stopped doing that too, but man.
Well, they sort of, on that Moscow show, they do for a split second.
Oh, okay.
Hold the pose, you know, like we're doing. What tour was that? Was it
Def Leppard tour?
The Sonic Boom tour?
No, the Def Leppard tour.
Was it?
Yeah.
Now they just do it for a split second, and that's it.
Yeah, but when they did it on that Def Leppard tour, I remember, you know, very fondly, and I was just like, holy shit, that's badass, you know, visual.
It's very cool,
man. Because all you see is them silhouette, all that smoke and the light. It seriously made them superheroes again. You know, that gave that whole.
So, Unmasked stage is basically the same as Dynasty.
Basically the same. Nothing really different except for the drummer.
And then we'll never know what the Elder looked like other than the music video we've seen recently.
Yeah, maybe that setup was the idea they would have had for the stage. Who knows? But kind of glad it didn't happen.
I mean, you know that footage for the video is an actual music video, so I'm assuming that if that's what they were going to go with, or whatever would have went with, would have been on a bigger scale, of course.
Well, maybe, but.
If they could have actually had the money to do it, if the album, you know, had better and all that.
I mean, because look at the "I Love It Loud" video. They shot that on the stage that they used for the tour. So I'd like to think that stage that the I video on was probably the idea they would have used. Like you said, it probably would have been a little more elaborate, you know, at least like in the background. But who knows? In a way, I'm kind of glad it didn't happen because of the way that looks. But
the footage from the Brazil shows and actual, like the shows they did in US and Canada for creatures, is that the same stage? Because, and the reason I'm asking is because the shows in Brazil were like super huge,
Yeah.
and the crowd is like overwhelming. But they had the tank, but was the stage the same stage? Because I know it looks a lot bigger to me than the footage. See, I know there's not that much footage from the US, Canada's, but
I think that was kind of the main gist of that stage, though. It was just logo, the tank, and
tank.
that
Well,
was it.
I don't know if it's on the bill now. I want to go back and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But the tank had the sides of the actual tank was part of the stage too.
Right.
And I don't know if they used that through the whole tour or if they started out with that and dropped it like Destroyer. You know?
I don't really know for sure about. I remember, it used to roll out, during the solo and stuff, and that was a cool element. I don't know why they keep the tank for even tour, since they did the. It's basically the whole Creatures theme, so.
I am sort of curious about that because, think about how much time and money was spent on the monster stage.
Oh, I know.
So it seems, and I know it would have been time and effort and money for the tank if they wanted to recreate it the right way, but it seems like it'd be cheaper than the monster stage.
Yeah, and not the version of it that they used for the cruise. And, I get that, they can't shoot it off, but they could have at least made it the size of it. The monster stage, that was a cool effect, but at the same time, it was kind of like, couldn't they have made something better to represent the spider than just using pieces of rafters or whatever those are called? But, because I remember when Gene was talking about that at that year in the Q&A, he was building it up, but,
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have this full spider, it's going to walk, and it's even going to go to the audience, and this, and, all this stuff. Where everybody's like, oh, shit, and, then it turned out to be what it was, which, again, it was a, but it's kind of like, it's a spider. Why not make it look more like the actual spider, not just using those pieces of...
I never got to see him on the monster tour. I seen him right before that and seen him after. Because I don't think the monster came around this area, and I wasn't able to get it when it did, the few dates that it did.
No, it did come around the area, but they couldn't at Riverbend because that place was too small to install that.
Yeah. So I didn't get to see it, but it's like, I'm sure it was a lot cooler live.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a big fan of it from the beginning, like you said. I didn't expect a whole lot, but it wasn't. It's like it's just lights.
Yeah, and it's just those metal.
And when they were on the, they did 2 songs on that hockey game.
Yeah.
They had the arms on the stage still, but then didn't have the rest of it because it's wide open area.
Oh yeah. I remember.
So it's like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, certain shows they wouldn't be able to use the full thing and just use that.
And I think that's probably why they dropped it.
Yeah, probably.
Because they had a lot of technical issues, and they realized that many places they could go to certain countries maybe, and they could use it or couldn't use it, and then they didn't want. They probably, and knowing Paul and Gene, especially Paul, since he supposedly helped design it, he would want to use the whole thing every time, and he probably sort of aggravated when he couldn't.
I know I would, but
yeah,
again, like you said, I can imagine how much of a production technical nightmare that thing was day out. Let alone the kiss sign. I was gonna say before, like it's one less thing they have to hang up and this and that, but then comparing it to that spider, that's like nothing.
So when we took the makeup off for Lick It Up, did they still had the creature stage, right?
Pretty sure from what little video there is of that.
So they still tank, and it still fired during some parts of the show, and all. Was it a smaller stage? I'm not real sure if it was.
If I'm not mistaken, it was just another basic stage where it was basically the tank and the logo. And
because I think a lot of those shows, from what I've heard, were already up before they took the makeup off. So they were probably already in still big arenas or wherever they were playing.
Right.
And of course, Lick It Up took off, so they didn't have to worry about seeing it back, maybe.
Exactly. And then let's see, the animals, it was kind of different. The tank wasn't there anymore. Still the same logo, but then they, like we mentioned, they had that platform behind where they would rise up at the beginning of the show. And then wasn't there sort of like a scaffold or something that they ran on?
Well, I think there was a couple of versions. There was a version in Europe, and then there was a Virgin. There's an American Virgin.
Yeah, American Virgin.
Where the European one had like the speaker stack with the animal prints on it. And I don't think the American version had that, because if you look at the Animalized uncensored video, it doesn't have those.
Well, remember on the video though, it's like that point towards the end where like that whole piece of scaffolding comes down and they run up it.
Oh yeah, right.
And I think they're in like the end of Diamond or something like that.
Yeah.
And so like that was way different. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, because that's sort of the thing that they've used at the beginning of concerts down on, like from the farewell tour, they were using something similar to that to come out with instead of it being at the end. It's sort of funny how that totally backwards. But you get used to stuff, and then to look back at things, it's like you almost forget. It's like, oh yeah, they've already used that. It's just in a different part of the show, and I totally did those two things together.
Right,
it's basically the same thing.
There's times, even on some of these recent shows where the show starts, they're just there on the stage. It kind of not as effective as when they're. To me, it's they got to be coming down. And
the banner drop, or whatever, and then you see these guys rolling it before they actually walk out to the stage. It's like, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, if it takes away from the effect. They may have the drums kind of lowering, but that definitely takes away.
And I think the first time I seen that was it's the DVD that's on Sonic Boom, where they're out in I don't know what country it is. It's a speaking country.
Oh, the one that came with it. Boom.
Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Sao Paulo or something.
And I think that's the first time I remember seeing them do that. And it's like, that's terrible. I think the reason that I thought it was terrible, I don't know if it was right before or right after, when they used the thing that come out from behind the drums and went over the drums. To me, that's, of the most recent stuff, I like that, although I do like the farewell where they came down on the right.
Yeah, that one was one of my favorites. And I think it was the Monster Tour in Cincinnati. I want to say they just pretty much walked out because they were able to use the Tiger to come down. So
I think when I seen them in Indiana, I want to say that's what they did. I'm not positive. That was the tour with Motley Crue in 2012.
Yeah, I can't remember that if they just walked out.
I say that they had a riser that came down, but I'm not positive. I'd have to watch the footage.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. Now you say that.
But we got a lot of homework to go back and watch, because you think about this stuff and it's like, no, I don't think that's right. Maybe I have to see it for myself. And so
I was thinking about the show I saw when they played with Aerosmith, and I'm like, I don't even remember how that started now. Like if they just
remember a little bit about that because the Sonic Boom tour, because it seemed like
this is when Peter and Tommy.
So this was still around because I remember people out in the parking lot, they had Kiss Symphony for them to autograph.
No, it was right after Symphony. Yeah.
So that would have. I remember Tommy was in the band.
Yeah.
I remember the logos were at the side of the stage, the Kiss logo. I don't know if there was one behind the drums or not, but I know there was one on each side of the stage. I remember that because I remember Tommy and Paul walking in front of them.
Yeah.
That's
I do remember that.
I don't remember anything else.
Well, the show I saw, they played first, and Aerosmith headline, so I can't remember if it was still the full setup like that. And I'm gonna have to see if there's video anywhere.
Is that you seen the Riverbend show too?
No, I ended up going to it was close to Pittsburgh, but it was I forget what the actual city called, but we ended up with that one because we missed both the Ohio dates. But, I don't know, but I'm gonna have to see a video anywhere of that, like at least the beginning show, because I don't even remember if they came down or just walked out. And
I don't at this point. I need to watch it too.
But I remember at the time, I was still assuming that Ace was in the band because I do remember thinking, because at the time, they were kind of in and out, even Peter, and then that's not Ace, and at the time I wasn't real familiar with who he was.
I remember seeing him in Columbus. I think it was at Polaris, and they Poison was the opening band, and I don't remember. I want to say it was Tom and Eric, but I don't really remember. what year that would have been.
See, if it was Polaris, I would think that.
I remember Gene sounded really bad. His vocals was really bad. I remember that.
I don't know. Was it Farewell Tour or?
I think it was after the Farewell Tour. I want to say it was Rock the Nation, right around in there, or that other tour that was before or after that one. Hottest band in the world, or what was that called?
Hottest show on Earth.
Yeah, I think it was. It might have been that one.
I thought Polaris was already gone at that point, though. I don't know.
I don't know if it was called Polaris. I can't remember.
I'd be wrong.
The same place where Polaris was.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Anywho,
Animalized, or I guess Asylum. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't remember anything about that except pretty much the logo.
Well, the logo got a lot bigger.
Yeah, a lot bigger.
And a lot more colorful.
Oh, God. It's in the costumes.
And I think some footage I've seen, and I think this was the U.S. dates. I don't know if it was in other countries, but they had steps going upside of the stage.
Yeah.
Bruce and Paul occasionally would go up those steps, and they looked a little rinky-dink, and they didn't look like they was attached to anything. I don't even know what they were made out of, how they stood still. But I think they dropped that after a while. I think they were on every show.
Yeah, I don't recall them even using them that often during the show.
I don't think they did very often.
Right.
And then as far as, I want to say that the Animalized stage had a animal print on the stage.
Yes, you're right.
Did they do that on any other stages? Did they have a print of something like the album cover? Or, I mean, I know Unplugged had rock cover.
Yeah, Unplugged's the only thing I could think of. They did that.
What was on Asylum? Was there anything on the stage?
I don't think so.
I want to say it was a silver stage, like a grid. But I think that was just like the front half, because Animalized had the front half of it was like a silver grid.
Yeah, I want to say other than that, it was just kind of a bare bones type of setup. I'm gonna have
to go back and look at that.
Because I think the only Asylum show I've seen was that fourth show that I got from you.
Well, what was that new footage that just surfaced? Where was that? Was it Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas. Was it Asylum though? I thought it was.
It was Asylum.
Okay. Might have to look that up. Some of that stuff you just don't think about when you're watching it, at least in that certain era.
Right.
You don't really think about the
So Eric Carr was the first drummer after Peter, of course, that had the double bass. So from that point on, there's been a double bass in the band. Even when Peter was back in the band, did double bass? He just didn't play it, or did he?
No, he was back to use single bass.
He's always had the bass.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Now I want to say he added a double pedal at like after the reunion, just to do it for like endings and things like that. But he always just ran with the one, and then he'd have the extended kick drum where they would pretty much hatch a second kick drum to the front of that one to give it that bigger sound.
And then of course Eric Carr had the drums way up here, like all around. You just seen hair. You couldn't really see what he was.
He had so many toms, and then when he added all those electric pads, how big those were anyway, they were all up there too. Jesus.
When did he start adding drums? I mean, because if you watch the I Love It Loud video, it's still fairly basic. I mean, you can see him, and I know it was a video, so of course they wanted to see him. So what was his drums on tour? What was his drums and the Creatures? Was it the same drums setup?
They were the bigger drum set, because even on the Unmasked tour, he had the big set, and it was that same set.
So they were at an angle. He always had an angle like that.
Right. And then I don't think he added the electric pads until probably Crazy Nights.
Probably Crazy Night.
I think it was either Crazy Nights or Hot in the Shade, because there's that one solo it's on video that he did. It's kind of the more popular. And I'm pretty sure that was Crazy Nights tour, I believe. Yeah.
So after I'm getting confused. After Asylum, Asylum, we had the Crazy Nights tour. But then, because I know they've done like one-off tours, they've done some Lost Cities tours, and I'm not. I'd have to have all of it laid out in front of me to analyze it. But there's been times where they've changed the stage around or used different staging based on the area they're in and how much space they have and what they allow them to shoot off pyro or not, if they're inside or outside. I mean, of course, all that's going to vary from every tour. And it's like, so Crazy Nights was a pretty calm stage, I think. The logo was still huge.
Yeah, I think it was.
They dropped all the colors. They didn't have no colors for the logo.
I think it was pretty much the same as Asylum, other than the color stuff. They pretty bones and whatnot.
I think at that point they were doing like what Van Halen was doing. And Bon Jovi, they had stacks of amps.
Yeah. Sorry.
They had like the stacks of amps they were doing. Bon Jovi and Van Halen were doing. They started that, probably Asylum, and did that up through, I don't know when. I know Crazy Nights was like that.
Yeah, but I mean, they were kind of always doing the stacks though. Like even back in the.
That's what I'm trying to. Yeah, they had stacks, but it's almost like if you watch Van Halen footage from like the 1984, around in there, they were black and silver, so you could actually see each individual one. If you go back to Kiss Dynasty, they're all solid colors. They're black. I could be wrong, but I mean, they're not, and it could just be the design of the stage that they looked better that way. But it's almost like in the 80s, they were trying to, I've said this before, they were trying to emulate other bands. And I think that was maybe their way of doing it, their subtle way of doing it.
I see that, but I mean, even like 75, back when they were doing the text, they would just get the dummy cabs that didn't have the speakers.
See, that's funny, but they were the first band to ever do that, probably. And then they were emulating the look of what they've already done that other ones were taking from them in the first place. And it's like sort of recreating what they already did, but taking someone else's idea, adding. It's neat because Kiss has lasted so long. They're the only band that influenced everyone, and I don't want to say that they've copied everyone because that's not accurate.
No, more people's copied them than anything.
Yeah, but I think there's been times in their career where they've been sort of trying different things, and everything's an influence.
Oh yeah, like we said, not just bands have copied them. I mean, even in into like wrestling and UFC stuff that they've adapted all the pyro. It's all from that.
And the thing that kills me is nowadays, if you see, I don't care if it's whatever band, it can be a boy band, it can be a country band. And I know that pyro is different now too, because there's certain things they won't allow that back in the 70s Kiss could get away with. They were the ones really doing a lot of it. It was trial and error. But now, the thing that I hate the most, and what it's called, and Kiss does it, and Justin Bieber does it, and everybody does it, it's just like it's just like clear smoke that blows.
Oh, yeah.
I know some of that back where the flames are on Kiss stages is a coolant.
Yeah.
Because the flames come up and ends up right after that to cool the stage. But then there's some out front that other bands use as an effect.
Yeah, to give that whole air. Michael Jackson used to use that a lot.
Right, and I hate that. And Kiss does it too.
Yeah.
But I do it for different reasons.
Especially during that, like Asylum period,
Well, I noticed that in the 80s, lighting was so different because they hadn't came those colored, with same light that changed 4 colors.
Yeah,
they actually have 3 or 4 colors of lights, side to side.
This might be a little off subject too, but something I always wondered is, okay, we know how PA systems sound at concerts, but I always wondered is back in the 70s when obviously that stuff was more crude back then and not as high-tech and deep and all that as it is today. I always wondered what it sounded like in person to be at shows like at a Kiss or Zeppelin show or whatever. Like, how did it sound? Did it have that big sound or the deep kick drum? And we just don't know. And it's like, even with the recordings, the live concerts, that still didn't answer that enough. It's like, if someone was at any of those shows back in the day, it's like, I want to hear from them, like, what they remember. Because I've always wondered that, like, what did it sound like to be at those shows back in those days compared to now, how it just sounds crisp and deep bass, all that stuff. But that was just something I've always kind of wondered.
There's this show on YouTube from Black Sabbath in Paris, 1970, and like you say, I wonder what people at that show heard, how it sounded. Did it sound? I mean, the music itself and the lyrics was something they'd never heard, obviously.
Yeah.
So that alone was one element. As far as the audio, like the PA and all that, it's like, what did they have to compare it to? A movie theater? Even movie theaters back then wasn't what a movie theater is now. So
right, to them it probably sounded perfect at the time, but compared to now, it's like maybe they're able to go and remember that and compare it. But it's weird. Like, even stuff like Woodstock. Like, what would that have sounded like in there in person?
Well, what I thought, and this, I don't know how accurate this comparison is, but if you listen to, I remember the old cheap record player I had back in the 70s, and listening to 45s, that I played and played and played, and even 8 tracks. They sounded like garbage.
Yeah.
But at the time, I never thought anything about the sound, because that's all it was. Radio would sound different, of course. Radio's a different sound altogether. But then when you move to cassettes, it was an upgrade, but it still is like not the best in the world, depending. Right. And you go on to CDs and on and on. I mean, now with MP3s and things, there's all kinds of variations of that. But I remember back when I was a kid, that stuff, it was just as great then to me. And I have nostalgic memories of it sounding like crap, but not remembering it sounding like crap. I mean, I'm telling you it did, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm the same way. Back when I was little, it's like I'd play 45s, wearing them out and stuff, and it sounded the way it sounded. Back then, we didn't think about, this particular needle will make it sound different or anything like that. We were just, you'd play it on what it came with, and and then of course with radio, that's all that compression is why it sounds so different. And
well, there's records that I had as a kid that skipped in certain places, and if I play them now, like say on my iPod, they don't skip. It's like I remember where that skip was.
I am the same way.
I actually knew the lyrics based on that skip, and then when they didn't skip, it's like, here's a little piece of lyric that I don't even know. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I am the exact same way. There's a couple songs that I have that same. Every time I hear it, I'm like, I remember that little skip or whatever. It's crazy. A lot of stuff like that the younger generation just won't ever understand or have today when they're listening to everything digitally. And
I mean, I remember even early internet, with the buffer and stuff.
Yeah. Hang on. What?
Be one a picture. What is cooking?
What?
Louis a picture and me on the too.
She threw you on a picture?
No, just the wrong way.
She threw them all away.
No, just the wrong picture.
She only did one picture, not one for you?
No, don't. You had to take Floyd's picture with only me.
Oh, only you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Later.
What?
Later.
And later?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just the boss. She's sitting there doing this stuff. You have to take her. What was we saying?
Well, it's like with the internet used to buffer like crazy.
God,
You
I remember.
listen to something and it jumping and jerking. I used to get so aggravated because I didn't, I'm a very impatient person. When I first the internet, I about went crazy because it's like, I can do all this, but I can't do it until it's ready to do it.
Oh my God. I remember Friday nights, be sitting there on America Online trying to get online because that was always the fun thing to do. And I swear I'd be sitting there for 2 hours sometimes just trying to connect to it. Because back then, for you young people, it literally had to dial number and connect to the service. And it got to the point where America Online got so overloaded because of pricing that it would constantly ring busy when you try to log on. So you'd sit there and just keep repeat and repeat until it finally. And then sometimes you would end up kicked off because of the connection. Or if somebody made the mistake of picking up the phone house, it would disconnect you. And no.
I'm on the internet.
I mean, I remember that stuff so vividly. And then, I'd sit on there for hours back when I was a teenager on Friday, Saturday nights, chatting with people. And
Well, and you had to because, like you said, on there you couldn't just get on there. I'm going to get online real quick and check the.
Yeah, it was like I want to look this up. Let's hope I can connect within like 5 minutes. Not 2 hours or something. But
right.
I still remember when I first heard about MP3s, and a friend of mine was telling me about them, and I downloaded these files, and they're a lot smaller, so they don't take as long to download, and they sound just like the CD. And I'm like, yeah, you can do that already. You just burn it to a WAV file, and it sounds like the CD. No, it's a much smaller file. It doesn't take as long as a WAV file. And so finally, all right, let's try this out. And it'd still take a little while to download just a song back in those days, but
You're right.
Once that happened. And then I heard it, I was like, holy shit. Like, from then, it was just downloading all kinds of songs. And
I remember the first thing I ran across before MP3s was MIDI files. I think is how you pronounce them.
MIDI?
Yeah, and it was like, it's almost like, at least all the ones I heard were instrumental. It's not really even instruments. It's like a computer-generated tones or whatever to make the song.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like video game music or...
Yeah.
I'd have there'd be midis of all kinds of regular songs and wrestling
like
and stuff.
Kiss songs I found on there, and just pretty much anything. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And think about that now. It's like,
yeah, and it's like those didn't take no time to download, so you'd download a shitload of MIDI files.
Because there was a lot of like Kiss sites I would go to, and it would say free audio stuff, and you'd click on it, and that's what it would be. You'd think it was an actual Kiss song, and it's that.
And then there'd be that real audio player that a lot of people would use back then for video and audio, and oh my god, that was always a pain in the ass because it'd always be stuttering or not sound that good. The
internet used to buffer like crazy.
God,
I remember listen to something and it jumping and jerking. I used to get so aggravated because I didn't. I'm a very impatient person. When I first the internet, I about went crazy because it's like, I can do all this, but I can't do it until it's ready to do it.
Oh my God. I remember Friday nights, be sitting there on America Online trying to get online because that was always the fun thing to do. And I swear I'd be sitting there for 2 hours sometimes just trying to connect to it. Because back then, for you young people, it literally had to dial number and connect to the service. And it got to the point where America Online got so, overloaded because of pricing that it would constantly ring busy when you try to log on. So you'd sit there and just keep repeat and repeat until it finally. And then sometimes you would end up kicked off because of the connection. Or if somebody made the mistake of picking up the phone house, it would disconnect you. And no.
I'm on the internet.
I mean, I remember that stuff so vividly. And then, I'd sit on there for hours back when I was a teenager on Friday, Saturday nights, chatting with people. And
well, and you had to because, like you said, on there you couldn't just get on there. I'm going to get online real quick and check the.
Yeah, it was like I want to look this up. Let's hope I can connect within like 5 minutes. Not 2 hours or something. But I still remember when I first heard about MP3s, and a friend of mine was telling me about them, and I downloaded these files, and they're a lot smaller, so they don't take as long to download, and they sound just like the CD. And I'm like, yeah, you can do that already. You just burn it to a WAV file, and it sounds like the CD. No, it's a much smaller file. It doesn't take as long as a WAV file. And so finally, all right, let's try this out. And it'd still take a little while to download just a song back in those days, but
you're right.
Once that happened. And then I heard it, I was like, holy shit. Like, from then, it was just downloading all kinds of songs. And
I remember the first thing I ran across before MP3s was MIDI files. I think is how you pronounce them.
MIDI?
Yeah, and it was like, it's almost like, at least all the ones I heard were instrumental. it's not really even instruments. It's like a computer generated tones or whatever to make the song.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like video game music, or I'd have there'd be midis of all kinds of regular songs and wrestling
like
and stuff.
Kiss songs I found on there, and just pretty much anything. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And think about that now, it's like
yeah, and it's like those didn't take no time to download, so you'd download a shitload of MIDI files.
Because there was a lot of like Kiss sites I would go to, and it would say free audio stuff, and you'd click on it, and that's what it would be. You'd think it was an actual Kiss song, and it's that.
And then there'd be that real audio player that a lot of people would use back then for video and audio, and oh my god, that was always a pain in the ass, because it'd always be stuttering or not sound that good, and just I hated that.
And if you tried to listen to something streaming, you might as well, if it's an hour show, you might as well camp out. You're going to be there forever.
Yeah, younger people just do not understand how that internet was in the early days of it.
It's as much problems as we have now. It's so much smoother now, because not only will it do more than it used to do. I mean, there was no YouTube, there was no Skype, there was no Facebook, there was none of that. So it almost seems like, what's the point? You know?
You'd get on America Online. They used to have these different, like, I don't know, you'd click on entertainment and mess around with stuff. Now, there was always a wrestling one, so that's the thing I would hang out on, is the wrestling, and there'd be, like the chat rooms and stuff like that. And that was kind of how I'd spend hours, is just on there chatting in chat rooms to people and all that stuff.
I remember, I was so, I don't know why, but you remember all the search engines.
Yes.
It's like Alta Vista, and there were many, and I would always search for the same thing, different ones, just to see, because they would pull up different things then. And now it's basically Google, and what is it, Bing? There's not really any. Yeah. So back then, there was all these ones come up out of the work, really.
I would always use web crawler, and then the internet, or there's like Netscape was like kind of the best back then, and and that was the one to use because it was a little bit quicker, and waiting on pictures to load web pages was even a thing. Like,
I wonder if some of those still exist. If you was to type in, if it's still a thing, web crawler, for example.
I think it is, but there is a website out there that you can type in, like, say the website, and you can go and see.
Search all of them at once.
No, you put in the website, and then it shows you what that website back in 1998 or
really
stuff like that. All these different. It's cool, and
it's cool, yeah.
But, yeah, just sitting there for hours sometimes, just trying to log in and downloading stuff. Like, man, it was a pain.
So, stage. I don't know. We got like way.
Well, I guess at this point we're pretty much too hot in the shade.
Hot in the shade, yeah.
We can kind of start bundling them together because it's running long.
Right.
But Hot in the Shade was one of the best, obviously, because with the big Sphinx in the background, and they'd come out, through the mouth, and the lasers and all that stuff, and.
Yeah, Jason talked a little bit about that because wasn't that his first concert?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you go to our last episode and hear Jason talk about that.
And then I'll jump into the Revenge stage. That was another really cool one. Kind of had that apocalyptic look, and almost kind of like Destroyer, but different, of course. And with the Statue of Liberty in the background, and then. At the one point of the show where the face would rip off and it'd look almost like the Terminator or something.
It has like some of the footage I've seen has like, it looks like street signs that's spray painted on, like graffiti and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then isn't there a couple places in the stage? It looks like, I don't know if what is it there? Is it like it's a speaker cabinet, but it looks like, is it a rock or what is it? There's a couple sideways ones.
Yeah, it's like the speaker cabinet looks like it's just sort of like driven into the stage, like, and it's kind of like crooked, but like kind of stuff like that. Like I really like that. It
seems like that it might have been on the Kiss My Ass home video. There were some sketches of what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
it was just too elaborate. There was like a big tower on one of those pictures or something. I don't know what that was.
And they wanted to have like a car that came out and I think like blow up or something like that, or
something. Yeah, which I think Pink Floyd has done that, haven't they? Done something?
I think so. I don't follow Floyd as much to know all the ins and outs of their stage shows, but
that's their podcast.
Yeah.
Check out other podcasts.
We just sit there for an hour going.
It's called The Wall.
Pink Floyd. I don't know. I think maybe just kind of stop there for now.
I don't even know what's after that.
I mean, really, after that, you got. I guess you can kind of see maybe the Unplugged setup, and then the reunion, Circus, all that.
Yeah, I mean, the Unplugged was the convention tour was basically just the Kiss banner behind them, a big Kiss banner.
Well, I mean, the MTV Unplugged.
Right. That was a little more elaborate because it was done up right.
But you know what I think would be cool, especially at this point of the band, and is if they just did like a mashup of some of the best stage props and just put it all together, and
sure, why not? I mean,
whether the back is the Sphinx or the Statue of Liberty, I think either one of those would be awesome, and have that ramp from Dynasty on there.
Sure.
The steps from Love Gun.
Well, if you think about it, the costume, I don't mean the costume Gene's wearing currently, but the original Creatures costume was sort of a mashup of his other costumes.
Yeah, true.
And so was Paul's original Creatures. He had that jacket that he had from Love Gun, and it had the pants that he had from that solo photo session he did, and with the tail was added to it. So there was you know what I mean? There was sort of a mashup there, and that's sort of what they're doing. That'd be perfect for what they're doing.
Yeah, because I mean, Gene was wearing his Love Gun boots, and you can't see the rest of it right now.
I think he alternated in like 3 different sets of boot tops. He had like the Destroyer ones, he had the Love Gun ones, and then he had the ones with the spikes on it.
Right.
And now he's wearing those squared off metal ones that goes, I don't know, that are like boom.
I think they're his monster ones.
Are they?
Or the ones he's wearing now with that. And, like we talked earlier with that whole part on the chest, I don't like it.
Yeah, he's just got the one circle there, the chain that's attached to him. It's back in for Creatures, it was like all the way across, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, and it was like the chain, the whole chest was kind of exposed. Now it's pretty much covered up. And I'm telling you, look at a picture of his costume now, and look at Vinny's costume, and only that stuff on the chest reminds me of Vinny's costume.
Well, and it's funny because, and I know he's older and all that kind of stuff, and people are not as modest or whatever, but if it's like his original costume, it stopped before you seen his nipples. So it'd be the same. That's what you were looking for, huh? Well, that's what I'm saying. It'd be the same now if he just had it as an exact replica. So it's like showing your middle of your chest.
That's the thing. Like we said earlier, the fact that he's put on weight and everything, that was probably one of his decisions or requests for that costume, is to kind of cover the chest up. And he is
Paul actually looks better now than he did a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he's wearing less now than he used to, because when he first started wearing the Sonic Boom, he had those, it went all the way down and all the way up, all the way across. Even after he took that top feather thing off, it was still like a solid.
I mean, Gene's like 66, so, you don't really want to see 66-year-old with his bare chest exposed anymore. Paul doesn't take his shirt off like he used to anymore. And,
the little bra or whatever that Paul's half shirt, back in some of the pictures I've seen from the Creatures era, it's like almost a bra. It's like really skimpy, and it cuts like way in here and it's way up here.
Yes.
So he has stretched that out quite a bit.
Did you notice the boots he's wearing now? Like from the recent show, it's like the top part, it's like real baggy looking. It's like leathery, but it's like loose. And
the back of them has the fringe on them, like the Monster Sonic Boom ones did.
Yeah,
solid color instead of two different colors.
And then there's like the studs or rhinestones, whatever, on the front of the boot, like the toe or whatever. So, but I think we're gonna kind of stop there. Maybe next week, maybe we'll continue where we left off. Maybe not, because pretty much after the revenge stage, it was kind of not as elaborate, I guess.
Well, there's some variances here and there, but it's basically the same stage, more or less.
Yeah,
I mean,
nothing that's real like eye-catching that I can think of right now that was very different, other than just maybe like the drum riser and things like that here and there. But so I think we'll stop there again, and again, we still have a lot of great potential guests coming on. That's going to be coming up soon, so we'll make more announcements when that comes. Anything else you wanted to mention?
Coming up real soon, probably on the next episode, I'll be the special guest.
And hopefully pretty soon we'll know a release date for the Gene box set. And one day we can maybe do a review of that here on the show. But until then, keep track of KISS while they're on tour right now. And I know we will.
And subscribe to our channel and leave us some comments on some of that stuff.
Yep.
We don't remember.
And again, as always, we appreciate the support, all the new subscribers and likes and all that stuff. Please keep spreading the word. And
if anyone out there wants to be a guest, get in contact with us.
And we are still looking for that potential extra host. So, the door is open. Contact us. Just keeping that out there. So, all right. Well, till next week then, we will be out of here. See you later.